I would love to. Where it's gonna
Are you Teresa today? Are you Teresa today? Yes.
Morning, everyone. Time being 9 a.m., I'd like to call our Judicial and Public Safety Committee meeting to order. It is Thursday, June 16th. My name is Myrna Molina. I will be chairing today's meeting. May I please have roll call?
Davis? Davis? Brown?
Down here.
Gums?
Gums here.
Leonard?
Leonard here.
Sanchez? Shepro? Hurog? Molina?
Present. Okay, we will move on. We have a quorum. We will move on to approval of minutes. We have minutes from April 14th and May 12th. May I have a motion and a second to approve those minutes?
Leonard moves.
Brown will second.
Motion made by Mr. Leonard, second by Mr. Brown. Any comments, questions, or corrections? Okay, may I please have roll call on the minutes?
Brown?
Yes.
Gums?
Gums, yes.
Leonard?
Leonard, yes.
Sanchez?
Sanchez, yes.
Shepro? Davis? Molina?
Molina, yes. Okay, the minutes are approved. Next item on our agenda is public comment. Do we have anybody in the public or online signed up to speak? All right, well, we have a full agenda, so let's keep going. We are moving on to our judiciary financial reports. Those are on file for everyone to look at. Do I have anybody here from our Merit Commission? Okay, the Merit Commission report is also on file. All right, Ms. Guthrie, good morning.
Good morning. Our monthly reports are in the packet. Just something to point out real quick, as you will see our phone call report, it appears that our phone calls are down from last year, but in our calls for service, we have seen an increase, meaning that officer initiated activity is on the increase, but maybe 911 calls or administrative calls that we're receiving, including outgoing calls, is on a decrease. So we are busy with a lot of officer initiated activity, more contacts with subjects, more traffic stops from all of the agencies that are within that report. We still have one telecommunicator in training. One was recently released from training, and we are facing an interesting challenge, which we really haven't had in KingCom before, where we have seen a decline in applications. So we're just trying some different things in terms of advertising and different ways to reach applicants, but that's something that we will continue to address moving forward. Looking at the surrounding centers in comparison to our salaries, the starting is a little less. So I'm not sure if that's driving the reduction in applications, but it's something we'll have to address moving forward. In addition, we have done a number of trainings and we continue to focus on next generation 911. I have been notified by the state kind of unofficially that we will be receiving yet another grant for next generation 911. And that grant will go to fund the conversion of our 911 lines to SIP or internet phone lines, which will reduce cost. And then we will look at transitioning our administrative lines also to SIP, which will further reduce some costs directly from KingCom's budget. So I don't have the exact number on that grant just yet, but that will hopefully we'll receive the official notification and letter from the state by the end of June. And we will be pursuing that project with TRICOM. KingCom is TRICOM's backup center and TRICOM is KingCom's backup center. So we do those projects together. And that's all I have this morning.
Okay, thank you. Any comments or questions for Ms. Guthrie? Okay, we will move on to our Sheriff and Adult Corrections.
Good morning, everybody. All of our reports are on file, and because I have 7 different resolutions up here in a minute, I'm going to be very brief. As we build our succession plan at the Sheriff's Office for the future, remembering that we have at least 9 retirements this year in 2022 alone of our sworn deputy staff. I'm very proud to introduce our Chief Financial Officer, our brand new Chief Financial Officer, Alicia Dominguez. I asked her to come today so you guys could put a face to a name, but she's done an outstanding job with us for many years. Alicia, how long have you been with the Sheriff's Office? 14 years. So she was a payroll coordinator before this, and we're incredibly proud to be able to boost her up to the CFO position as Lieutenant Corey Hunger retires I think right now, right? He's pretty much not coming back. But she did an outstanding job building our budget for FY23, and I just wanted to give her that recognition. Also, I was hoping our brand new chief of staff, which is a new position at the sheriff's office, Amy Johnson, who is a longtime detective and lead evidence technician with us. She will become our undersheriff in December when Undersheriff Pat Gangler retires. She was supposed to be here today, but she's juggling so many hats between transitioning from being a lead evidence technician to chief of staff. So hopefully you guys will see her normally sitting next to me here. We can go ahead and step to those resolutions.
All right, yeah, may I have a motion in a second to introduce and discuss authorizing a contract for substance abuse counseling and medically assisted treatment for the Kane County Sheriff's Office of Adult Justice Center.
Leonard moves.
Okay, Mr. Leonard
Gums will
moves, Mr.
second.
Brown will second. Go ahead.
So this is a renewal of the contract with Lighthouse Recovery. Of course, we've talked a lot about the great results we've got out of our correction center, the reduction of opioid overdose deaths of the formerly incarcerated by 89% over the last 3 years, the reduction of recidivism from 49% to 18% as we ended with in 2021. So this contract just continues that for the next, I believe it's a 3-year term going forward.
All right, great. Any comments or questions regarding this resolution? Okay, may I please have roll call?
Brown,
Brown, yes.
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Shepro, Molina.
Molina, yes. Okay. This moves on to our Finance and Budget Committee meeting later on this month. Okay, Sheriff, let's go ahead and introduce your second resolution.
This is essentially a resolution that's an addendum to the corrections bargaining agreement that was signed off on last month. Unfortunately, the longevity pay increase along with the SLEP and FICA increases were not included in that, just a mistake on our part. So this is resolving that with that budget adjustment.
Okay, may I have a motion and a second to discuss and potentially approve this resolution?
Leonard
Gums
moves.
moves.
All right, Ms. Gums moves, Mr. Leonard seconds. Any comments or questions? May I please have roll call?
Brown,
Brown, yes.
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Molina.
Molina, yes. Okay, this passes on to our Finance and Budget. Sheriff Hain, go ahead, introduce your next resolution.
So this is to replace 2 vehicles for our investigations division. We continue to struggle with supply chain issues as far as vehicles go. So we did a similar resolution to this, I believe it was last month, where we purchased 3 vehicles from a dealership in Illinois, and these are 2 police vehicles sitting on a lot in Illinois as well. So we're just using some of our asset forfeiture funds to the sum of $85,522 to purchase those 2 vehicles.
Okay, may I have a motion and a second to discuss and potentially approve?
Brown moves.
Mr. Brown moves,
Leonard seconds.
Mr. Leonard seconds, and this has already been passed to Administrative Committee. Any other comments or questions? All right, roll call, please.
Brown,
Brown, yes.
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Molina.
Molina, yes. All right, this passes on to Finance and Budget. Okay, Sheriff, let's keep going. Next one.
Okay, this is for the purchase of mobile spike strips. So we saw a dramatic increase in pursuits, people fleeing from our deputies between 2019 and 2020 and 2021, and this continues into 2022. And it's everything from stolen vehicles to a lot of the carjackings that we hear about in Chicago and those offenders coming out to our county to commit crimes. So of course, our deputies engage in attempting to stop them. And we now have spike strips that we deploy. Unfortunately, the spike strips we currently have, the deputy has to be outside of the car to deploy those. And as we saw in Knox County last month, the deputy unfortunately was killed while doing that, hit by the offending vehicle. These spike strips actually deploy from the vehicle while the deputy is sitting inside of it. So they can have the protection of the vehicle stopped on the side of the road, and they can lay it out in the roadway to
Oh, very
disable
cool.
that vehicle.
All right, may I have a motion and a second to discuss and potentially approve this resolution?
Brown will move.
Mr.
Sanchez
Brown
seconds.
moves. Did I hear Mr. Sanchez second?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, any other comments or questions? Pretty cool. All right, roll call, please.
Brown,
Brown, yes.
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Molina.
Molina, yes. Yes. All right, this passes on to Finance and Budget. Okay, Resolution F.
Still going. This is approving another programming source that we have inside the jail that we've ran with for the last 3 years. The sum to keep this going is just over $30,000. So we have to pass it through resolution. This will be paid out of our canteen account, which is, the commission from commissary and telephone calls and text messages on the tablets. So not out of the general fund budget.
All right, may I have a motion and a second to discuss and potentially approve?
Leonard moves.
Mr. Leonard moves.
Gums will second.
Ms. Gums seconds. All right, any comments or questions regarding this resolution? All right, roll call, please.
Brown,
Brown, yes.
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Molina.
Molina, yes.
Yes.
All right, this passes on to finance and budget as well. All right, Sheriff Fain, next one.
I wish we could do both of these together for the sake of time, but they're essentially the same. We're accepting FEMA federal grant funds through our Office of Emergency Management for natural hazards mitigation. So the first one is for $63,500.
Okay, may I have a motion and a second to discuss and potentially approve this resolution?
Brown moves.
Mr. Brown
Leonard
moves, Mr. Leonard seconds. Okay, any comments or questions? Okay, roll call, please.
Brown,
Brown, yes.
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Molina.
Molina, yes. All right, this passes on to finance and budget. All right, Sheriff Fain.
And finally, next one, last one. So this seeks to establish a contract with a qualified and experienced consultant for the completion of the update of the 2015 Kane County Multi-Jurisdictional Natural Hazards Mitigation Plan. So again, another Office of Emergency Management contract that they're seeking to get a signature on from the chair.
All right, may I have a motion and a second to discuss and potentially approve?
Gums will move.
Leonard moves.
Ms. Gums moves, Mr. Leonard seconds. Any comments or questions regarding this resolution? All right, roll call.
Brown,
Brown, yes.
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Molina.
Molina, yes. All right, this passes on to finance and budget as well. All right, Sheriff Hain, anything else for us today?
I think that's it.
All
Thank
right,
you.
great. Okay, we will move on. Good morning.
Good morning. Our reports are on file as always so that everyone can see the financial background for the state's attorney's office. I do have one thing to discuss and then a couple of resolutions. Blair, I don't know if we can go ahead and pull up the discovery tendering software for the SAO. It's 232 of that. Oh, you're way ahead of me as always. So one of the things that we've been looking at the state's attorney's office is a better way for us to be able to share discovery. Discovery comes in many different forms. When I first started at the office, it was a 911 recording on a tape and police reports that were in paper version. We have far surpassed that technology now. Most of the time, our body cams, our squad videos, and then our 911 recordings are sent electronically. If you have a squad cam or a body cam and it's a couple hours long, it could take 20 minutes to upload. That is a significant amount of time that the staff at the state's attorney's office is spending just to get the discovery into our system. And then we have to download it into another system for that system, then transfer to defense attorneys. We have unfortunately had several defense attorneys who we send a link to, not at the public defender's office, who sit on that for the 2-week time period, don't do anything, and then the link expires. By that time, we've already taken the discovery out of the mechanism in which we send it over, which means we have to start the process all over again. In addition to that, there are several times in court, and I'm sure Judge Hull can confirm this as well, where defense attorneys will say that we haven't received it. We say we've sent it, but there's not a real way to verify it for the court. So with that being said, we undertook the task to take a look at different types of technology that would work for a state's attorney's office and a public defender's office. And so my first thank you is to Anthony Ortiz, who works in my office. He is the chief of my operations. He is the one who scheduled all of these meetings, who created this form and really made a great comparison for everybody to look at to see what it is that we're looking at. If you take a look at the box at the left, this is the functions. This is what we're looking for in terms of a well-functioning discovery system. As a part of our research, we looked at 4 different systems: Box.com, Evidence.com, TechShare, and what Tyler and Odyssey have. And then what you'll see is all of the functions that we would prefer, whether or not those have what it is that we need. There's a difference in cost. Right now, Tyler Odyssey, in my understanding, is still in the beta testing for their program. And it's not something that's functional now, or I believe will be functional anytime soon. TechShare, which is by far and away the one that has the majority of the items that we need, is actively being used by the DuPage County State's Attorney's Office and Public Defender's Office. And the whole idea behind it is this discovery is sent to us by a police department. It's put in the discovery system, and that's where it is. All that we have to do then is click a box that gives access to the defense attorney who's on the case. This will save hundreds of hours of work. Box.com and Evidence.com are very similar to that. I just know that a state's attorney's office locally sees it. So if anybody would like to see how it works or speak to anybody about the functionality of it, it's a very easy to drive to go over to Wheaton. So with that being said, what I would like Judicial and Public and Safety to look at is the purchasing of a discovery system by the state's attorney's office. I believe that would have to then also be purchased by the public defender's office. But if we are doing this together, it'll be a cheaper price than if we were doing something separately. It will be easier. There are transcriptions in a lot of these programs that will help us out, especially if we have a 2-hour-long body cam. There are some systems like Evidence.com that automatically transcribe it for us. Having a keyword search in that is even easier, because if we can search up "he hit me," then we can find that spot, as opposed to going through hours upon hours of what we're looking at. We will be working with the finance department in regards to this, but the first thing that I think we need to do, because this will be well over the $30,000 threshold, is that we actually need to put out either an RFP or an RFQ so that they can come and give proposals to us of what our needs are. But I believe that this has identified what needs would be best met by the King County court system. And so I just wanted to put that on your radar, that that's something that we're going to be putting out, hoping to then get the best product for the cheapest price for this county. Any questions on that so far? Yes.
State's Attorney, outside of the public defender and yourself, what other departments would have to touch this system and be taught how to use it, or would anybody else need to?
I don't think anybody else would, because the discovery is essentially between us. When it's a private defense attorney, we send it to them. The defense attorney's almost like a link. Really what it's doing is it's granting them access to the folder where all of this discovery is at. However, there's a way to make protected discovery. So for example, if I have a notes file that's in my discovery system, I can protect that, and then that the defense attorney doesn't get it. The same thing could be for the public defender's office. If they have discovery that they are generating, their investigator goes out and finds out additional information, they'd have that system and how they could share it with us, but still protect items.
Okay, very good. Any other questions? Mr. Leonard?
Thank you, Madam Chair. State's Attorney Mossert, in looking at this, I think it makes perfect sense, something we should move ahead on. You had said it will save thousands of hours.
Yes.
Okay. If the cost is, say, let's say 150,000 for easy numbers for each department, it's 300,000. So if we save thousands of hours of labor costs, even at $50 an hour, for every 1,000 hours we save, we're paying back 50,000. So my thought is probably the payback, and I always look at when I purchase something, what the payback period is going to be. It's going to be less than 2 years. It's going to last us for 5 or 10 years. So I think from a financial standpoint, it makes perfect sense.
Thank you. I could not have said that better. Understanding that we need to use our resources in the best possible way, including the people there, we'll be able to divert them to other activities instead of watching or waiting or downloading hour after hour. Thank you.
Judge Hall, did you have something?
Yeah, I just would like to add, 100% supportive. And I just want to just kind of go to what Ms. Mosser said about the delay in court. Again, the focus is on trying to get cases through efficiently. Supreme Court has adopted time standards that go into effect on July 1st that indicate how long cases should take to get through the system. One of the biggest issues was, as identified, but from the court system, is the amount of time that we have to delay cases in order to get discovery exchanged. Happens every day in every courtroom in King County and other counties. I've heard wonderful things about the DuPage system. In fact, attorneys come to us and say, Why is it that you don't have what DuPage has? You're making it so much harder. And when we talk about the Safety Act and we talk about the video reviews, I was completely unaware of that search function because again, when we talk about the amount of time that it's going to take to do body camera and that footage, I was unaware that that existed, but that would seem to me to be a huge time saver and possible employee saver. So, Ms. Conant could probably add as well, but I think this would be a great move for the county and for making sure that the system runs more efficiently, which is always the goal.
Thank you, Ms. Conant.
Thank you. I think that you've heard both Ms. Mosser and I talk many times before about the videos and needing to watch the whole video. The key search would be such a time saver to be able to search certain words that we need in the video and just get to that part. Because what we've also shared with you is that a lot of these videos, they can be 2 hours long and there's really only 3 minutes of something that applies to the case, but you have to watch from beginning to end to make sure that you're not missing something. And this keyword search would be a huge boost in time saving.
Great. Thank you for bringing it forward. I'm going to let Mr. Brown go first and then Mr. Leonard.
Thank you. Will you still, the way the Safety Act is written, will you still need to review all the camera footage initially, but then you'll be able to use the key search to go back and look?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
thank you.
good point. Mr. Leonard?
Thank you. I just wanted to correct my calculation. I had said a 2-year buyback. After hearing Chief Judge Hall and our public defender Conant give their explanation, it would be less than 1 year payback.
All right,
Great.
okay. So what's the timeline for this, Ms. Mosser?
So the plan is that we're going to write that up this month to send it out. We're going to get the reports back. I need to work with Mr. Onzik in finance to see ultimately what the resources will be for this. I need to meet with Ms. Conant to see what she would need this for in terms of her attorneys versus support staff. So I'm hoping to have a report back either next month or the following.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right,
Wonderful.
let's keep going.
Thank you. I think now we are moving on to a resolution. The first resolution that we have is for the creation of 7 new positions in the state's attorney's office. This is something that I had spoken about in regards to some statutory demands that we have. A few months ago, I had asked, or at the last budget, I had asked for attorneys specifically who are going to deal with cyber crimes. Cyber crimes are child pornography cases, and that's both the possession of and the dissemination of those cases. I told you about a county that was within Illinois that actually got sued because they knew that there were people who were downloading child pornography, did nothing about it, and that individual actually went and molested a child. There is a computer system that is used by the Internet Crimes Against Children organizations where anytime child pornography is used, companies like Google or Amazon or Yahoo, when they see things like this, they actually send it to the government. And then it gets put into this very specific database that our law enforcement has access to. And when you access that, you'll see all of the people who are actively downloading child pornography. Now, sometimes it's a one-off where it's an accident, but most of the time it is time after time after time. And those are the individuals that we need to be worried about because the likelihood of them then perpetrating on an actual child in their life is higher. So with the 2 prosecutors that we have right now have been under the tutelage of the chief of my criminal division, Bob Dorr, who has a specialty in prosecuting the child pornography cases. However, the need is there for us to actually have a detective who's going to, or an investigator who's going to be working these cases up in conjunction with the other police departments. Our sheriff has a fantastic person within his own department who does this, but it's certainly not enough given the amount of child pornography that is being downloaded in King County. So for that, we are asking for a detective along with a certified forensic examiner. Now, this is a person who has the expertise to go into a person's computer or phone and actually find the information. How many times somebody has viewed the photograph, how many times somebody's downloaded it, how many times they've shared it. This is a very intricate and tricky process that needs a lot of certifications in order to do so, but that's how we prove the cases. Most of the time, the defendants in these cases will come forth and they'll say, oh, that was just an accident. Then the certified forensic examiner says, well, on this day alone, they looked at it 26 times. They also downloaded this 4 times, and then they sent this other document or this other photograph to somebody else. That is crucial evidence in our trials, and we need to have an expert in order to do that. It is much cheaper to get an expert in-house than it is to try to contract this for every single case that we have. In addition to that, we are looking to strengthen our Child Advocacy Center by creating the physical abuse crimes section. Now, the physical abuse is not a typical domestic, where it may be a parent who slaps or strikes a child. This is in line with the abusive head trauma cases, or what people typically know as shaken baby cases. These are incredibly difficult to not only investigate, but also to prosecute, because there's a lot of medical science behind everything. In addition to that, the interviews that have to be done of the family members need to be done immediately, and they need to be done by professionals. Most of the time, the witness in these cases are other children who are in the home that are seeing what's happening. So what, excuse me, we're looking for is a criminal investigator, a bilingual criminal investigator, a bilingual forensic interview, a bilingual advocate case manager, and an administrative assistant to be able to staff these cases. As you all know and can all expect, because of the pandemic, these cases are on the rise just as much as other domestic violence cases are, just because of the sheer amount of stress, the people being stuck in the home, people losing their jobs, and unfortunately, the children are suffering. So we are asking for the creation of these 7 positions because this is a need that we have to prosecute at the state's attorney's office. And we did run this by finance, who has obviously found the funds within it to be able to support it.
Okay, I'll ask for a motion to discuss and potentially approve.
Leonard moves.
Mr. Leonard, Mr. Brown, seconds. Okay, any questions? Ms. Masser, so currently, do you have anybody working on these cases? Would they be moving into these positions as like their formal?
No, these would be new positions, but they would be housed over at our Child Advocacy Center, who does the sexual abuse of children cases. And so they'd work together because it's a specialty. We already have rooms that are set up for the forensic interviews there. And we believe we have enough space. We will have to do some small build outs, but we believe we have enough space to put them over there.
Okay, and this is only for prorated, so this is only 33%.
Correct.
So
Yes.
in 2023, you'll be asking for 3 times this amount to
Yes.
sustain it.
Correct.
So just so that everybody's aware. And then Ms. Conant, would this require you to then have to hire any additional staff on your end? A lot of these positions always create a domino effect where, you know, everybody else is going to need assistance too.
Excuse me. At this point, these are cases that we are already handling within our office. I think I would have to, before I could answer that, see the increase in filings from Ms. Mosser's office related to these specific cases. But at this point in time, we are staffed to handle these cases.
Okay. Which what we are going to expect an increase in cases because we're going to have people who are specifically looking and investigating that we didn't have prior to now.
And I would agree with that. I mean, the child pornography cases alone, I think that those are going to increase. If you look at the ones that we've charged in Kane County in comparison to other counties smaller than us, they're actually more than we are. And that is not right, especially given the fact that when you look at this, St. Charles is one of the highest downloaders of child pornography. It's very disturbing. In the last year, I believe we had 3 abusive head trauma cases for children that we were not able to testify. And I think a portion of that is we were not able to adequately investigate it to start off with.
Mr. Brown?
I think I know the answer to this, but I'm a little bit confused as to why the state's attorney's office would need to have investigators as compared to why the sheriff's office would have investigators. And I think I'm answering my own question because you're going to be investigating someone that's already been charged. You're not investigating people that haven't been charged.
No, we do investigations through our Child Advocacy Center because it's a specialty. There are some departments like Aurora, Elgin, and even the Sheriff's Department who have the manpower to be able to investigate these cases. However, there are other departments that do not, so they reach out to us on specialty cases to do it. And so the Child Advocacy Center is a big one regarding that, because our investigators will actually be a part of that investigation with the local police department. What we're trying to do is just work better with them in these specialized cases. Again, the abusive head trauma cases alone, having a person who understands it, can talk to the doctors, the DCFS workers, the children in the home to bring that forward, is the better way to do it so that we're doing it the right way. I think Sheriff Hain could supplement that also.
So it's better for the state's attorney's office to work with these other agencies than it is the sheriff's office.
It's always a joint effort between our
Yes.
offices. So for example, I have a full-time detective assigned to her Child Advocacy Center. And so her sole job is to investigate those crimes against children, just as she has other investigators there that do the same thing. I also have a child pornography investigator, but unfortunately, because of our manpower, he also has to investigate homicides and batteries and many other investigations at the same time he's trying to do proactive cases on child pornography. So this just really supports and adds to our mission of eradicating those people from our community. And you know, you look at the tip lines that we receive from the state on the average daily activity of people searching child pornography in Kane County, it's anywhere from 90 to 110 people per day. It's devastating. And the national stat is north of 90% of those people physically offend against children at some point. So I respect all those positions up there, but when I see the forensic examiner for child pornography, that is near and dear to my heart, and it's sorely needed. So I appreciate you advocating for that position within your office, but it's always a joint effort between us.
And that forensic examiner can be used by other departments. I mean, Sheriff Hain and I obviously work together on a lot of investigations, but if St. Charles has something where they need somebody to look at, now we have an in-house forensic examiner who can do that, which is just going to help St. Charles get charges, which is going to help me prosecute them and put them away.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Thank you for bringing this forward. I know it's a difficult subject to even think about, but I think we need to make sure that we're doing what we can for the children in our community. So I appreciate what you're doing here. Okay, and no other comments or questions. Let's take roll call.
Brown,
Brown, yes.
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Paulina.
Paulina, yes. And this passes, and it'll move on to finance and budget as well.
Thank you. The next resolution is me not asking for money. It is a grant that the health department received in which a portion of it is going to be awarded to the pre-arrest diversion program for the work that we're doing to keep people out of the criminal justice system. For those of you who may not know, if you go on our website, we actually have a page for pre-arrest diversion, and we'll tell you how many people have been or are going through our program. I encourage all of you to sit down with our case managers to talk about what they have done with people and how they've really made a difference in their lives. But again, the $6,200 is just an award that we would receive from the health department to continue to help participants. This award includes being able to give people a gift card for food or to help with transportation to go to treatment and a whole variety of other things.
All right, may I have a motion and a second to approve? And
Leonard moves.
Mr. Leonard
Gums,
moves.
seconds.
Ms. Gums seconds. Any comments or questions? Okay, may I please have roll call?
Brown,
Brown, yes.
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Paulina.
Molina, yes. Okay, this passes on to finance and budget.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Ms. Masser. Okay, Ms. Conant, good
Thank
morning.
you. Good morning. Our reports are on file. Just was going to draw attention to a few things. Just to point out in regards to this time last year, our numbers are almost exact in regards to opening and closing cases. So we are on trend to be our numbers to be significantly the same as last year. A couple of areas to draw attention to, though. One is juvenile delinquency. Our juvenile delinquency numbers are up this year. I'm not really quite sure the reason for that. It might be post-COVID that people are out more, but we have seen an increase there. abuse and neglect juvenile delinquency is down slightly, but still increased numbers from prior to COVID. So that is a little bit of relief for them, though that those case numbers are slightly less than last year at this time. The final area is I've talked a lot in other times about moving through our COVID backlog, and the attorneys in the office have done a phenomenal job at that. One area that we were still having a little bit of trouble with getting the numbers down was Arcane Branch Court. We have 3 attorneys assigned there. At the beginning of this year, they were carrying each of those 3 attorneys about 550 cases each. They are down in right around 350 average now. So they have been working very hard this year to get those numbers down to get us back to our pre-COVID numbers. They have worked hard to get trials set, to get cases to disposition. One of the biggest problems over there was a lot of our clients in that particular courtroom have a lot more issues with transportation. So transportation was an issue to get them in. While they were still doing Zoom, many of them did need to come into court to do certain things. So they've been working hard to get that taken care of. So we're very proud to know that those numbers are finally going down and some relief for them as well. And that is all of my report.
Thank you. Any questions from Ms. Conant? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, okay, we'll move on to our judiciary and courts. Judge Hall, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Just a couple of things. One is I want to let you know that we continue with our trial court administrator search. Again, Doug hasn't changed his mind. He's indicating he's still planning to retire. So just the postings are up. The interview, or I guess the application period closes on July 21st. And again, we're working with the National Center for State Courts through that. So we're in the process of receiving applications. But one of the things that was interesting was we asked them to take a look at the TCA position to tell us how we needed to retool it, or to tell us kind of how we were doing when they looked at Doug and they looked at how Doug spent his time and they talked to other counties. What they found is that no surprise, Doug works extremely hard and a lot of long hours, as does a lot of people in the county, but about 15 to 20% of his time is spent on building and grounds issues, which they indicated is not really where we want to see our TCA using the time. Another large percentage is spent on human resource issues, based upon the number of people that report and that we have working for us that go directly to Doug. And again, Doug does a fantastic job, but again, that HR piece is a very, very important piece. And then also IT issues. So the recommendation to us was, as we began to post for this new position, to also try to work with the county board to try to look for areas or positions where we could take that responsibility away from Doug, so that when the new TCA comes in, they can spend the time on running the circuit and the court system and not necessarily on things that should be covered by others. So you'll see in our budget when we come in, we are asking for a new position called a judicial facility coordinator. It was based upon their recommendation, and we've been in touch with Roger on that because we know that you've been making a lot of strides with building and grounds, but the objective or idea behind that position is based upon the number of buildings and locations that the judiciary finds itself in, to have a person that can be a coordinator with our office with building and grounds, that would be our employee, that could identify the issues that we need to have addressed, and then to work with building and grounds to do that. So we're in the process of doing that as well. But I just wanted to give you a heads up that I thought the study was very interesting and provided a lot of good results. And then again, that's a huge thanks to Doug and Andrea for all the work that they're doing that really falls outside of that TCA position. Before I move on, does anybody have any questions about that at all? Okay, great. Next is, I just wanted to bring you up to speed on the Safety Act. Again, we've talked to you about it a number of times. It's again, a major portion, the no cash piece will go into effect on January 1st. All of us around in this meeting are working on a weekly basis to try to make sure that we are prepared both operationally and legally for that. We're just making progress every day, just a little step at a time. So I feel like we're heading in the right direction, but there's been a lot of work that we've done and a lot of work that we have left to do. So I'm not sure if either Ms. Conant or Ms. Masser or Ms. Oster, anybody wants to talk about the progress on that. If not, I can move on. Okay. All right. So that's it on our end. I'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody has, but everything's going well.
Okay, any questions for Judge Hall? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, we'll move on to our Court Services Administration. Ms. Ost?
Good morning. So I'm going to continue along the theme of updating you and giving you foreshadowing on trends that we're seeing in the court. The big thing right now is mental health. We've been touching on that off and on over the years, but it's again escalating. Maybe summer has something to do with it. The fact that a lot of people are leaving their old quarantine habits behind and they're interacting more in public, but we're seeing more and more acute mental health needs. In particular, the JJC had another minor who was actively suicidal. We spent time with her in the emergency room, getting her evaluated, all of the x-rays. She was swallowing things that would hurt her. And it took a full 2 days to get her hospitalized into a locked psychiatric unit. And of course, that's always the issue with juvenile detention. They're minors, they need to be locked up. They're being held for a reason. And there just aren't a lot of locked psychiatric facilities in the state. We've talked, in the past, we've driven kids all the way to Terre Haute, Indiana to try to get them hospitalized for because their psychiatric, their mental health needs are so acute. I'm also giving you foreshadowing that the superintendent, Mike Davis, will be testifying in front of an Illinois Senate committee later this month on this very issue, because he's had over 20 kids that he's had to or tried to get hospitalized for really acute mental health issues and only been successful twice. It's a real problem in this state. So all of that is coming. At the same time, so while these kids were in the emergency room at the hospital, we're required per hospital rules for various reasons to have at least 2 staff with that person at all times. And so since it took 2 days, that's 12 shifts of overtime. It also is affecting our manpower in the facility, and we're down staff to begin with. I recently had a meeting to let Madam Chair know about some of the issues that we've been having, because at the same time, we're also seeing an uptick in minors being considered for juvenile residential placement because their issues are so severe they can't be treated in the home or with intensive wraparound services. At this time, 1 minor has been ordered to be placed, and we have another 4 or so that are working their way through the system. An exact finding hasn't been found yet, but they are strongly being considered for juvenile placement because of their very serious mental health issues or behavior health issues, as the case may be. And so last year, so the way that we handle those kind of budgetary needs is that the county gives court services, it's a line item called juvenile board and care. There's about $400,000 in it. That money has gone back to the county pretty much every year since 2018 because we haven't been making any expenditures out of that line item. In fact, last year, I went back and I looked at Mr. Onzek's report from March. We gave back $856,000. Of that money, $400,000 was for placement that was unexpended. So I don't believe that I'm going to need more money for that placement line item this year at all. But if this trend continues, then I'm forecasting out by July or August of next year, I'll have to come back with a resolution asking for more money. So I'm not doing that at this time. I'm truly just giving you foreshadowing of what, if this trend continues, what that will mean. So there's 5 pending for the budget for this year. I put in, or I am asking for 2 additional staff at the KCDC for psychiatric staff or forensic psychologists. The situation is becoming intense enough that we're seriously contemplating bringing a resolution next week to ask for at least 1 now, and then holding off and asking for the other through the budgeting process. I believe that we have the funds. We could redirect some of these placement funds. I have a few calls into Mr. Onzek to try to talk that out with him, to get his feelings and how he feels about that. But he's got his personal issues, so I hope to be able to connect with him soon. The ways that this is affecting the system as a whole is that I've got 5 kids currently at the JJC who are being detained who need psychiatric evaluations. There are parents who are waiting for psychiatric evaluations. And at the jail, there's currently 16 individuals who are in custody and who are also awaiting psychiatric evaluations in order to help with the court process. And those people are all pre-trial. They're not post-conviction. So the case is delayed waiting for these evaluations to take place. And like I said, so we're definitely seeing an increase in need, and we're feeling it through court orders and through the court asking us to do these operations or these evaluations. Not really much more to report on that at this time, except I want to give you foreshadowing and to let you know that as the minors are going through the court process and being considered for placement, we're going to start giving notice to the county. Those will be going to Madam Chair. However, those are confidential under the Juvenile Court Act. We can't release those names. So we'll be giving her notice that a case is pending, but really not a lot more. And I apologize for that, but I've made sure that everyone knows I'm available to talk this out and to let the county know what's happening with these cases. And that's my report.
Thank you, Ms. Oster. I think you have our support with whatever you need to, build some kind of relief for that. Question, I guess, just to everybody. Ms. Conant mentioned that juvenile delinquency is up this year. What type of, what are we seeing as charges that these juveniles are doing or being charged with? Is it a lot of violent crimes? Is it, can you guys give me some examples?
Interpersonal violence. So increased aggravated domestic battery, aggravated battery, some firearm discharge for sure, vehicular hijacking with some bodily harm, violent cases, attempted rape.
What's the age? I mean, they're juveniles, but are they averaging at 15, 13? What are
The
we?
bulk of cases that move through juvenile court are around age 14 to about age 17. We do have one of the minors who's currently pending placement is 13. So we do have those outliers, and he's a very serious case, which is why the court is really strongly considering placement and ordered us to really look for even nationwide placements for him because he's got some serious aberrant behavior developing that needs to be addressed.
All right, thank you. Okay, any other comments, Mr. Brown?
Just a comment. It's sad to say that it seems as though everywhere I go and everybody I talk to, I hear the same story, mental health. And everyone says, but what can we do? And I think I don't have the answer, but I think the people in this room and other people in the county have got some answers, and we're trying to do what we can. The health department is going to be awarded the $10.8 million, I think, for mental health initiatives. You're asking for support. We're certainly supportive of that. And it's coming to these meetings. It's very, very severe what you're talking about. And my district is mostly Batavia, and I meet with our mayor, if not weekly, every other week. And some of the stories that I hear that come from just the town of Batavia, a nice sleepy little town. When we have over 50 ambulance calls in a weekend, and over 60% of those ambulance calls are mental health related, there's an issue. And I'm glad to see that you're trying to do something about it. And I'm hopeful that the rest of the board is willing to do that as well.
And I will say, I just saw this morning that Michael Isaacson was promoted to Executive Director of the Health Department. Kudos to the county and to him.
Great decision.
Yeah, he's wonderful. I've worked with him for over 20 years. I first worked with him in Aurora at the Weed and Seed grant process. I mean, he's very familiar with how public health intersects with mental health, as well as when you have good community mental health resources, crime actually decreases over time. There's a bit of a lag. It takes a good 5 years, but programs like having a really robust visiting nurses program, those kinds of programs, increasing Head Start, do impact crime in the long run because you increase family cohesion, you increase mental health, and acting out behavior decrease, especially amongst minors. He's an excellent pick, and he really gets it.
Thank you. I guess at this point, I'll plug what Madam Chair was saying this Tuesday about our Reimagine Public Safety Act and how Aurora's getting funds for this specific reason. So Ms. Ost, I welcome you into that committee because I think it's important for us to kind of see the overall picture of, when you've talked about it time and time again of why people decide to commit crimes. What happens at, from birth to, 13, what can we do to help deter an individual from making those choices? So this is a conversation we're going to continue to have, but I thank you and I welcome you to that table because I think it's important to have your feedback too.
Excellent. I'll be there.
Okay, any other comments or questions for Ms. Ost? Okay, we will move on to our circuit clerk.
All right. Christy Sharpness for Teresa. Our reports are on file and she wanted me to bring up that at exec, our case pendings were reported as 102,431. It's all cases, including evictions and foreclosures, not just evictions and foreclosures. So
Christy, can you give us the number of evictions and foreclosures?
I could get that
Okay.
to you.
I think that's
after
what
this
Mr.
meeting.
Ford wanted to
Okay.
have that drill down of where we're at with evictions and foreclosures, because that's also something that
Definitely, I'll get that.
we're eyeing. Okay. Any, Ms. Mosser?
That just reminded me when I was talking about eviction and foreclosure, our sheriff recently had an issue where somebody, I believe, was being evicted from their home. And there was a threat with a gun and children, and he intervened and used all of his training to make sure that nothing bad happened. So I would like to recognize him for that. And I'm sorry that I cut you off, but it just brought it to my head. So congratulations, Sheriff.
Yes, kudos. Thank you. I know on Tuesday when it was going on, we were all sitting at this meeting, praying and hoping that nothing bad was going to happen out of it. So thank you for your leadership on that. Okay.
No question.
Nothing
I'm
else?
done.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we will move on to our coroner. Mr. Russell, good morning.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to mirror that. Thank you, Sheriff, for participating in the coroner's death prevention program. I truly appreciate that. Great job. Yes, our reports are on file and, don't really have any questions. You can see we're up a little bit, but, we've been pretty consistent. So had some horrific crashes this month. Been very taxing on us, but we're doing a great job, I think. I believe, and we're moving forward and working hard. So, any other questions, I'm happy to answer.
Mr. Russell, now that you mentioned about the traffic deaths, that's one thing I keep noticing and keep hearing from all of my community meetings. That people are really talking about speeding everywhere. How many traffic fatalities have we had in King County this year?
Well, I'd have to look that up, that actual number, but it does seem to be up this year for sure, especially January for some reason. January, we had a lot of just overall death and just all different kinds. So I'm really hoping that we don't have another month like January, but yeah, I can say definitely to answer your question, it appears, at least on the surface, and I have not actually seen the up-to-date numbers yet on where we're at with traffic deaths, but we had a horrific one in Aurora last week. I think it was Friday, and yeah, it was a tough situation right in somebody's front yard to hit a tree and just a double fatality. So, yeah. So yeah, I can come back with that answer or email it out to you or whatever, but I don't know the exact number, but I could definitely find that out.
Thank you, Mr. Russell. Ms. Gums, did you have a comment?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Just point out be on the lookout for motorcycles. I don't know if those are on an increase, but it seems to me I keep reading about fatal motorcycle accidents. So just wanted to bring that up.
Thank you.
Absolutely. We just had one a few days ago, and yeah, I'm working closely with Abate and Chris Hansen to try. They're actually wanting to help. Obviously, their constituents and their members, I should say, to be aware, because it's not only do we need to look out for them, but they also need to continue to practice safe habits. So
For sure. And comes again, it just, a lot more people are utilizing their bikes because of gas prices. So there's a lot more of them on the road right now. So just wanted to bring it up, but thank you for commenting.
Madam
Thank
Chair, Bates, please.
Ms. Bates, go ahead.
To go back to the evictions, and I was in touch with Sheriff Hain about this morning. Could we work towards having a social worker go out with every eviction? Because I can't imagine anything more stressful for a family than getting kicked out of their homes, and maybe especially where children are involved. So could we look at that?
Yes, like I mentioned during our conversation this morning, it is a case-by-case basis. Every single eviction is different. So we do send social workers out with our team when necessary. And of course, it's always a resource when children are involved. But some evictions are very peaceful, calm, and I would say 70% of the time, the house is already vacated by the time our folks get there. This is a very one-off, odd incident because of the occupants' political ideology and beliefs. They don't believe that laws apply to them. They don't believe that our common form of government and the only true authority figure in the state is the county sheriff. So that's why they, for some reason, respect what I have to say. And,
we're going to need more than a social worker.
Yeah. And of course, I'm proud to be part of the coroner's death prevention program. So I'm certified in that angle as well. So, but no, yes, we will always have a social worker involved whenever need be.
And we're very lucky to have social workers in our sheriff's department. So thank you, Sheriff Hain, for that. All right. Any other questions or comments for our coroner? Okay. Coroner Russell, thank you for your report.
Thank you.
Is there any new business for the committee? All right. Hearing and seeing none, may I have unanimous consent to place reports on file? Okay, Mr. Leonard, no comments or questions? All right, reports are placed on file. We have no need for executive session. I'm being told our release of closed minutes will be deferred for next month. So may I have a motion to adjourn?
Brown moves.
Leonard
For seconds. All right, thank you everybody for your time. We will see you next month.